guys, it's Bailey, Shayla, and Michaela here. For this assignment, we will discuss the impact that COVID-19 had on us, and specifically the supply chains around us. We will each share how this personally affected us, and then Sam Head, manager of containers and packaging, will share how it directly affected his warehouse operations in regards to the logistics management with his warehouse. We will begin with our personal experiences as we dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic, some of us feeling the pressures while others came out relatively unscathed. So we will begin with our experiences in the podcast we did earlier this semester.
Purdue. So I had a recent experience trying to buy a new car. I'm sure you guys, I know, dealership again. So I found that my dream car, it's the new Ford Bronco, and I put a deposit down on it, and I waited for like 2 months for it to come. And you know, every single day I bought like new key fobs, everything. I was so excited. And
love that.
Yeah. So it was supposed to get here on the 12th, and a week before it got here, I sold my car and was having to carpool with my husband. And then when it finally arrived, I was ready to sign all the paperwork. It was almost a done deal, and I see they added $5,000 to the MSRP value.
What?
And it just said add-on value.
We didn't add anything.
Exactly. We didn't add anything, and you know, that's on top of all of the other dealership fees that I knew I was going to have to pay. So when I asked about it, they legitimately just said, oh, well, because of the chip shortage and the high demand of cars right now, dealerships are just marking up the price $5,000. And I'm like, my name,
fair.
Yeah, my name has been on this for 2 months now, and you couldn't have disclosed that with me this year.
Woohoo!
Well, congratulations.
I know, right? Yay me. It was insane at the beginning though. So end of January, my husband and I just randomly like, let's move. We don't want to be in this apartment anymore. Our rent is increasing. We could basically have a mortgage with the same price. So we decided to move. We looked at 30 houses, put in 15 offers, and finally got accepted on the 13th. And it was still insane though, because everybody wants to move, but not enough people are selling, and it was ridiculous.
I mean, hey, during the height of COVID, when I was working at a grocery store, we had to deal with the very limited supply, and so as soon as, you know, we'd have 20 packages roll in, within the hour, they're all gone. And so we were trying so hard to keep up with it. Our suppliers were working as hard as they could, but there just was nothing to do about it because the demand was so high and it was just insane. But
Yes.
on a personal level, I got lucky because as soon as it's there, I grabbed it and I'm good and I run away and everyone else gets to deal with it.
Yeah,
So,
and hopefully you got some COVID pay in there,
Yes,
right?
where I
Definitely.
didn't get any toilet paper.
Started. I need to go calm down for a minute.
So my situation wasn't that bad. I'm an out-of-state student, so my mom called me worried. She's like, you need to come back to Illinois because things are getting really crazy out here. And so I took that road trip to Illinois, and on my way there, I realized that the gas stations weren't letting people in or use the restrooms. So I was like, oh, this is great. There's no other gas station around me. I'm in the middle of Wyoming.
A little bit about your workplace and your position.
Sure. I work for Container and Packaging. I'm the inventory manager there, and I lead a team of 3 guys and organize the inventory that we get from our vendors.
Fantastic. Thank you for that very brief summary. Very appreciated, so we know what your company is about. See, let's start with some questions. So, just to start on my end, how did COVID affect your workplace and your team and coworkers?
That's a fantastic question. As COVID hit, it was actually strange. We didn't stop work at all. In fact, since we're warehouse workers, we had to be there 24 hours at any point in time. Oftentimes we found that many people would get COVID at the most awkward times. The worst part was during Thanksgiving. We had about 10 guys out, which was really, really, really hard to keep all of our inventory and the flow of the work going.
Awesome.
Perfect. Short follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
So my dad is a manager at a grocery store, and he oftentimes did not believe his employees actually had COVID. Do you think, did you also have a issue with that? Were there any employees just not wanting to work?
At the time, we only had 16 people. Basically a skeleton crew. We're now only running with 12. So there wasn't a point in time where we felt like someone just dipped out and they weren't
that's good.
supposed to. We're a pretty tight group, and if someone doesn't show, we can't ship hardly anything. So we were pretty lucky to have the crew that we have, and everybody showed.
That's pretty amazing. Definitely important at a time like this.
For me, one thing I was wondering, how were your vendors affected with their supply, and then in turn, how did that affect you and your supply?
That's a fantastic question. The interesting thing is a lot of people were ordering the same stuff. You were getting sanitizer bottles, sprayers for those, pumps, and what we found is, since everybody was ordering from the same source, shipping times were cut, where we could hardly get anything. And so we would have to wait 2, 3, 4 weeks in order to get our supply in, and our customers then had to wait that much more to get the exact same items.
So on the turnaround time on that, from what point, how quickly could you get them out from the time you received them to shipping them off to the customer?
That's a good question, because we were used to doing 24 hours. As soon as the order came in, we would ship out, and it extended the time to where it was 48 hours to 2 days. So it was crazy. A lot of the guys felt a lot of pressure and a lot of stress because we were so trained to do 24. We had to hit 24, and it didn't happen. And so we were getting orders all the way to 500 orders in a day, and only being able to ship 300. Now, seeing what happened to us now, we have a team of about 13 people, and we can ship 300, 400 orders in a day, and we actually run out of orders to ship because we're so used to the 2020 version, where our company grew about 40%, which is crazy in business terms, because a business usually only grows about 5%, and that's average. We grew 40% in 2020.
That's pretty great. Good for you guys.
That's awesome. Were there any times, like obviously with shipping, where some companies it didn't?
So how did the start of the pandemic affect the ordering and maintaining the inventory then? Because you said you kept it for about sometimes up to 3 days. I feel like we've talked about the grocery store and how they couldn't keep anything on their shelves. Was it like same case with you guys? Were you always short inventory, or?
So having stuff stay in our staging area for 3 days wasn't as big of an issue as having it put into our racks. How the process works is we receive a truck, we stage it, receive it by our process, and then it goes into our racks and warehouse until someone buys it. Being a company that holds on to product before a customer buys it is really, really big, especially in the container and packaging industry, where we focus a lot on the beauty industry and health industries. Most companies in our position will already have bought the product that somebody's already bought. So if their customer is looking for something, they've already bought it before even their vendors get it. But us, we have a surplus already. Now, to follow up with your question, we didn't have that hard of time trying to get things out if we were all there. The COVID thing, having people jump in and out throughout the few months it was lasting, hitting really hard. Those were the only times that we had a rough time. But 48 hours was kind of our cutoff time. If we didn't get it in 48 hours, it would ship the next day.
That's pretty great.
So to follow up on that, you mentioned that some of the times you had excess. Even as COVID started to slow down, did you still have excess product?
Yeah, so we're actually resolving that issue this month. We've been going, because of the excess, we had to buy or lease out area in another warehouse. And at the moment, we're actually bringing that product back into our main warehouse here in Utah. this is a lot of product, and so we're moving about 300 to 400 pallets worth of product back into the warehouse where we didn't have it before because we kept it in the annex.
Sounds like a lot of work to me.
Yeah, for sure. So you said that you were having a lot of trouble with people kind of going in and out just because of COVID. Was there any part of the process that you were able to make automatic or, more automated? And if so, how were you able to manage that?
Yeah, so our process of putting things into the racks, we usually had to manually place them into the map. Basically, that's pulling up the application, typing it in word for word, and putting how many cases or boxes were on that pallet. During that time, our IT guys came up with the scanning process, where we would scan the pallet, our little tags that we make, and scan the racks. This made it a lot simpler and a lot smoother to get things put into the racks. And since that point, since 2020, we've actually automated our shipping process to do the exact same thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Makes it a lot easier, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yes, way easier.
Was it like a struggle to first get it going?
It was a little difficult because we had to relabel the whole warehouse with these new tags and scan.
Logistics management is strategically managing plans, implementing and controlling efficiency. This process mainly focuses on the progress, services, and storage of goods from the overall supply chain. Sam discusses how, due to the flow and storage of the goods, they had waste in transportation, inventory, and overproduction. Logistics management benefits not only us by improving customer and delivery experience, but it also benefits the business leader by optimizing operational costs, boosting profitability, greater delivery productivity and efficiency, and implementing intelligent route planning. Logistics management is strategically managing plans, implementing and controlling efficiency.